Hey guys, it's Jenny Wolek with the Wolek Group, Keller Realty, Tulsa, Oklahoma. So excited to be with you today and share my friend Brian Wentz from Des Moines, Iowa with you. Hi, Brian.
Hey, Jenny, how are you?
I am great.
Awesome.
Today, Brian is going to share some of his agent success secrets, and I just can't wait to get started. So, Brian, tell everyone in a nutshell. We've been friends for a long time, so I know a lot about you, and
We have been.
you have so much value to give and share. And let's get just right to it. How'd you get with Keller Williams? What are your main roles right now? We'll start.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it's interesting. I spent about 1.5 years in college and found that I really did not love college. And I just had a lightning bolt moment that I left school one day, basically quit and went to the library. I started reading and I just kept coming back to real estate. And so my journey to Keller Williams started with me becoming an agent when I was 21 years old. And so it was, and at that time, the average age in the industry was like 57, 58. And I unfortunately really looked 21.
Yeah. Now we wish we still did.
I know, right? And so I started with a traditional company, and then in 2000 made a jump to a boutique company that we grew from the original 4 of us to about 70. I think we were 76, 78 agents. And then through the 2008 downturn, through 2011, we ended up with about 30 agents. And so in 2011, I had the opportunity to go to Mega Camp. And I think was that one of the first times we met?
Yeah, we had a dinner with you.
That's right, it was.
Yeah.
So we decided to launch Keller Williams in Iowa. And I subsequently went on to become a team leader and a general manager. We launched 3 market centers, a couple of other ancillary businesses related to those, and grew from about 28 agents at launch to today I think we're 460, 480 agents, somewhere in that ballpark. So it's been a fun ride. And yet in my heart, I'm still an agent, and that's the hat that I love the most. All the other things are incredible. The agent hat is still where my heart is.
You've been very busy in this short amount of time with Keller Williams. You have nonstop learning, growing. You're just an absorber of all things.
Yeah, it's I remember early on explaining Keller Williams by saying that it was a playground for high achievers, and it's just such a great opportunity to learn. It's such a great learning environment. We get to network with such amazing people, and it's interesting because the business building skills that we learn inside Keller Williams, when you go into other companies and other organizations, they're literally like in awe of what we have here. And so I think sometimes that law of familiarity, agents, leaders, everyone in our company sometimes forgets what we truly have access to. It's pretty spectacular.
It really is. We are going to touch on something that's near and dear to both our hearts, and that is QL. Before we get there, though, I want to share with everyone, you are, again, so learning-based and pour yourself into everything that you can learn. You're nonstop. Everyone needs to make sure and join. You've just created a Facebook group.
Yes, I have.
So where'd that come from?
The Facebook group is On the Business with Brian. And I found that as I would travel and as I would talk to people, so often people would say just what you just said. You have such great insights on business, and there's so many other things that are always swirling around your head. I wanted to create a place where I could share some of that insight and really help other people. It's about contribution, really be able to help other people have different perspectives. Yes, I listen to probably 2 to 3 podcasts a day. I typically read 40 to 50 books a year. So I'm always bringing in all this information, and I wanted one place where I could kind of share that back with people so they could take away what I learned into their businesses.
All right. So everyone just make sure you go and ask to join On the Business with Brian. And thank you for posting in there every day, because that inspires and motivates me to do the same.
Absolutely.
We push each other, right?
That we do.
Well, just this year, you and I both, you've been way invested in Keller Williams Kids Can. And so why don't we kind of start with where that all came from, what it means, and what we do as an organization.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is an honor to be on the board of directors and now to serve with you through QL and through KW Kids Can. So KW Kids Can is a nonprofit that really seeks to be able to share the knowledge and the insights that we get inside this company out with the next generation of our youth. And by teaching the very first curriculum that we rolled out was actually the QL, the Quantum Leap, a World Changer Mindset curriculum. And which is essentially Quantum Leap. So imagine all the people, all the agents that have gone through Quantum Leap that have had these amazing life-changing experiences. Imagine being able to have that if you were 18 to 24, 25 years old.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's an amazing organization to be able to be a part of, because we are making such an enormous difference in the lives of our next generation. And as you know, part of the benefit of that is that it really makes a difference in our lives, because we're really driving that material into our nervous system at such a high level that it becomes a part of who you are.
Right. And, you know, something that you also need to share is that you've not only taught it here in the United States, you've taken it beyond. Where'd you go?
Yeah, we've gone to, it's a good question. I've taught about 17 times in the last 2.5 years across the US. So I've traveled within the US to other market centers, but I've also taught it in, Belize, South Africa. This year, I think I'm gonna have an opportunity to teach it in Dubai. I'm gonna be back in South Africa again, and I think Panama and Nicaragua are on the horizon for this year. And you know, it's interesting because when you teach a class that's about putting yourself together so you can go and impact the world, was really interesting because for instance, in South Africa, as we were teaching, the classroom was talking about, well, this is how we do things in South Africa. And there was this interesting conversation that we got into around just some of the cultural differences. And about halfway through the class, one of the students said, I think it was a he, raised his hand and said, you know, I'm realizing we actually don't have to settle for it being this way. We can actually be the change that we want to be, that we want to see in our country, and we can be the future of it. And I tell you, it was, you know, for me, it was a pretty rewarding moment, because you really got the sense that these young adults, and in that case, we had some Keller Williams associates that were over the 25-year age group, that they really truly got it. And they recognize that they truly can have an impact on changing the environment around them. So that's, you know, put yourself together and you can change the world. That's what we're doing with QL.
Well, let me ask you this, Brian. This is a nonprofit. You are volunteering your time for free. Why are you passionate about this?
That is a great question. So, you know, my passion really comes from the fact that I grew up in an environment where probably I could have probably have settled for mediocre if I had wanted to. And I had an educational opportunity when I was in my youth, that at a later point in my life, I got to a spot where I had a tremendous amount of success. And I looked back and I went, how did I get here from where I started? And I realized that one class had such an impactful, or it had such an impact on how I thought and how I saw the world around me, that I had decided, you know, as you start to get into your 30s and your 40s, you start to think about what's the legacy that you're leaving. Yeah. And I had decided quite a few years ago that the legacy that I wanted to leave was I wanted to create an organization that would reach down and help other people recognize that their life potential might be greater than what they thought it could be. And what really lights me on fire is helping other people get better, and really helping them to understand how to lead like an amazing life and how to reach their highest level of potential. And so lo and behold, probably not, you know, this is the strings of energy that Diana talks about in Bold. Not probably more than maybe 6 months later is when Gary Keller announced on stage that he was going to roll out KW Kids Can. And so I decided that was something I wanted to get behind at an early stage. I think we raised about $35,000 for the launch. And, you know, it was just kind of was kind of away we go in terms of being able to teach the material and learn. And it's been a great opportunity.
Now, I believe that all people have in their heart a desire to give. And I noticed that in real estate, we are those same people. And it's interesting. I've paid attention to videos that I'll share or posts that I'll make. And I think that when we go, the new thing is, what is it now? What do we give now? Now it's give $1 million.
Right.
And that's the fourth of the millionaire real estate process. And it seems like there's a disconnect between, I remember the early days, I couldn't even get through the first third of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent because my mind hadn't expanded and my business I could never see my business any bigger than that. Isn't that interesting? And now because of the way that we've been thinking, now we know and can envision giving. And I feel like when you think of giving, the rest falls into place, like you say. So how can we encourage and how can we share with other real estate agent professional friends to attach giving to their business?
Yeah, you're spot on, and really, our culture is coming from contribution, and in QL, the entire give $1 million concept is really rooted in that concept that it's a mindset of abundance. So, in our case, and I'll drill down a little further on this. This happens to be the mission of my team, Wentz Realty Group, is transforming lives everywhere through real estate, because we believe that we can transform the lives of our consumers. We believe we can transform the lives of our people that work inside our organization. And then ultimately, we've made Quantum Leap and the World Changer Mindset really a mainstay of our business here in the community. And so I think that the contribution element ties right back into the earn $1 million or net $1 million component. And I think QL is an amazing way to be able to leverage something to make that happen. So what was the question?
I don't know. You made me think of a new one to keep tying in with that, though, is so how can a single agent or a team, a real estate professional, how can they tie in this amazing class that we have already created for us and the organization that does such good for our youth? How can they tie that into their business so they're giving back value to their database and their community?
Yeah, so it really starts with getting involved in KWKC Kids Can. So go to kwkc.org, click sign up to become an instructor, and that's really the first step. And then once you're an instructor, what I would recommend, we talk about QL and KWKC with our clients every single month. We just sent out a bomb video to our entire database, almost 1,000 in our database, talking about the program, what it is, inviting them to invite their young adults, anyone from church or work or school that they have a connection with. So I think we can naturally build this program into your lead generation, into your 36 touch program. And it's interesting how this happens. We just brought a new agent onto our team, and a lender had reached out to him and said, hey, could we meet with you? And so he ended up going over to their office and met. But when he was there, one of my QL students, who's a lender in that company, happened to be there. And when Jason said who he was working for, they're like, oh, he's that almost like Tony Robbins like guy. He teaches that great class. And all of a sudden, everyone was standing around. And Jason said that was the moment that he realized the impact we were having in the community with this class.
Wow, I just got goosebumps on that one.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
It is good stuff. What else can you see are ways that, say I'm just not interested in being an instructor myself. What are other ways, though, that I can still be involved with this program?
That's a really good question. So I believe every market center should have a committee, probably through the ALC, and talk to your local leadership. I think there's an opportunity to have a committee in every market center that you can create a calendar of events throughout the year. Yeah. And whether you have a desire to be a trainer or whether you maybe have a desire to just be a part of putting a class together, putting an event together, rallying other trainers that want to teach the material, you still can leverage this material in communicating with your database and in building your business through the material without being an instructor. And what's interesting is we've had business that has come to us as a result of QL. We've had agents. I think we've had 6 or 7 agents now that have joined the Market Center. And one of those agents is now working on becoming an instructor with me and co-training with me. And of course, Delane Hebert, who was my assistant initially. She's who I met. She was in one of my very first classes ever. And so the thing is this is an opportunity to impact people at a really, really high level through the material. It's also just the goodwill and the intangible benefits they really kind of mount up over time. And I tell you, there's one student that is the one that I remember that she's the reason that I'm passionate. So when you get a little tired or you think, boy, I don't know if I want to take another Saturday to teach in the class, this is the one I think about. She's 24 years old, and at one of the breaks, she started crying up, or she started tearing up. And I asked if those were tears of joy or if they were tears of sorrow, because I've learned sometimes they're joy tears. She said they're joy, and she said, I'm 24 years old, and it's the first time in my life anyone has ever told me there's more to life than working, paying bills, and dying. And wow, I mean, holy cow. And I followed that student, and she's made some miraculous changes in her life, and is really, she's living a different life. And it's the result of a one-day class and then just staying in communication with her. So that's the impact we're having. I think that it's hard to think that there's anything that's not good that's going to come from that in terms of your business or in terms of a Keller Williams Market Center just really impacting the community. That's hard to compete with.
Well, yeah, that's the number one thing. And you just made me realize Delane is so amazing. And this class targeted for that 18 to 24-year-old age range can be a great way to find talent.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we need to be doing that, whether, you're an instructor for this class or not. You can go to the kwkc.org website and see all the events around the country and send potential recruits or candidates, right?
Absolutely. That's a great idea. I love it.
Yeah. This is also a great way to grow our database as you are, having students in your class or parents that you're meeting through this, growing our database and adding more value. Now, are there other ways that people could donate? I thought of a couple, maybe through a green sheet.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's interesting because everyone that goes through the program, essentially somebody else has typically gifted the seat. And so when young adults are registering, the value of the class is $150 per student. Our cost to deliver the class is about $25 per student. And so $25 does cover the hard costs. So when an agent gives on a green sheet, they're essentially paying forward for a student to be able to come. And what's fun about that is a lot of the students, then when they sign up, then they will pay forward for another student to attend. So nice. Giving on your green sheets, our team, we give, I believe that we give $100 of every transaction to KW Cares, and we give, I think, an equal amount to KW Kids Can. And that's really the best way you can give. You can do fundraisers inside your Market Center. You can have, if you're teaching a class, you can have a sponsor be able to sponsor the class, and they can go through the portal to do that. We have a couple of people inside the organization. Of Chase Sloan down in Houston. She's a magician at being able to get sponsors for these events. I know she gets a couple $1,000s for some of her classes. It's impressive.
Yeah. And I also saw a great idea that Wendy Papazan shared. At every closing, they have a little gift or little note card that says, because of you, we're able to donate to, and it shares a little blurb about giving back to Keller Williams Kids Can on that as well.
I saw that. I love that. That was a brilliant idea.
Yeah, we're implementing that one. Thanks,
so
Wendy.
are we.
Hey, what's the future of the organization? What's coming next?
Yeah, are you talking QL and KWKC?
Yes.
We just rolled out the high school version.
There you go.
So now we have a class that's really designed for 14 to 17-year-olds. And it's a little less headsy. Some of it is designed to be taught over multiple days as opposed to a one-day class. And again, it's interesting. It's a little bit more of a challenge sometimes to get a group of 18 to 25-year-olds together, but it's a whole lot easier to get a group of high school students together. So, I truly think, actually, Jenny, that with the high school version, I think we could almost have a greater impact because we're just catching them earlier in their thinking.
Yeah, earlier before they're too have established bad habits.
Well, yeah, and the thing is the class teaches all of those skills and all the things that no one in life ever teaches us as you go from high school to college and then college into the working world. And so the school system, formal education, does a great job of teaching us how to be a doctor or an attorney or to go be an engineer. I don't know about you, but it's hard to go take a class on how do you have a great life. And I sure don't see that on any of the high school or the collegiate curriculum. And that's really where we fit into that.
What's your favorite exercise or story inside of the QL class?
Well, so I would say the favorite exercise. There's two that I do that I truly enjoy, and they're highly rewarding. The first one is obviously through QL and through the World Changer Mindset curriculum. We work with students to help them build their mission, vision, values, beliefs, and perspectives, and particularly the focus on the mission. And it's interesting because I tell this story that I, many years ago, hired a life coach, and I had asked her to help me understand how to come up with a decision-making matrix for my life. And what I didn't realize was going to come out of the other end of that was my personal mission statement. And so, being able to help the young adults to understand what is their life going to be about and how do they live a life of I'm glad I did, not I wish I would, because regret is obviously the thing that haunts people in their older years. So that mission statement is wicked fun to help them develop throughout the day. The other one that we do that I found to be really helpful is we will have them at the very early in the class, and it's usually like an hour and a half in, we will have them do a visualization exercise where they visualize life 20 years in the future and anything were possible. They could do anything, they could be anything, they could have contributed anything to the world that they want to contribute. Where do they want to be? Now, the funny part is they're always like, I'd be like 42 years old, which is how basically I am. And it's like, well, it's not that bad. However, it's interesting because what happens is there's a concept called signs of land, and it's when you're at sea and you get closer to land, but you can't see it. You'll see sticks in the water and maybe a leaf or a coconut or something. When they read, I have them read their envisioned future, and they kind of share it aloud with the class. And and sometimes it's just they're hitting the highlights. But here's what happens: there starts to be signs of land in what their mission statement is going to be. And as we unpack that throughout the day, it culminates with them being able to really identify what is it that they're working towards. And that's, for me, that's truly rewarding. And every class we walk out with a mission statement, and we encourage them to date it a little bit. Date it, don't marry it, because they know pretty quickly if it doesn't fit them. And I've had several students who've come back and said later, we have a closed Facebook group for all of our students to go through, that'll come back and say, hey, I really kind of played with that a little bit, and it didn't quite fit as I thought about it, but now this is where I've landed. And I'm convinced that those young adults that understand what impact they're going to have on the world and what they want their life to be about, their life is going to be completely different than if they're just wandering aimlessly, doing whatever they think comes next. And that's the impact that I love being able to have on our QL students.
Yeah, you are such a good instructor. I want to be in your class.
Well, thank you. You are a good instructor too. Don't give me. I've seen you present. the instructor development workshops.
Yeah. Well, Brian, what's going on in your personal business world right now, and how can we help you out?
Well, we service the central Iowa area, so we have we're a highly relationship-based team. We'll do about 240 units this year. I'm not in production, so my role is just simply leading the team and casting the vision for the future of the organization.
You're in charge of on the business?
That is exactly right. You got it. Us. So yeah, we'd be happy to handle anyone that someone has a need for in central Iowa. Additionally, our market centers cover most of Iowa. So if you just need to nudge in the right direction, you need to find an Iowa agent, I'm always happy to help point someone in the right direction.
So how can everyone get in touch with you?
My cell phone, 515-779-7677. And my email, Brian at Wentz, W-E-N-T-Z, WentzRealtyGroup.com.
Well, you are such a blessing, and you give back and you pour into all of us. You guys make sure that you like Brian's page and friend him on Facebook if you haven't already. And if you need anything from me, let me know. My number is 918-706-9845. Bye, Brian. See you soon.
Bye. The pleasure as always.